guys, Nary here from Drakewing Gamers. Some of you know me on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Adastra. So, the last place we left off, things took a bit of a turn with the debate between, well, not really a debate, more of a display of oratory skills between Cassius and Amicus, and it was pretty clear that Cassius had won the people with his warmongering rhetoric. You know, being he was a populist. But the triumvirates decided to go against him and go right for Amicus because they know Cassius threatens their power. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, let's jump right back into it. Please sit back and enjoy it for the next 18 minutes. We'll entertain you. Let's jump right in. Alarm sign, you are up, and let's friggin' go. Oh, 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. Every time, there's something weird about this game, where the audio will always default back to its max setting. No matter if I close it and alter the settings. So, whatever. It is what it is. Anyway. Do not fret too much over this. It is par for the course in woven politics. That much I do know. Drama is their identity, and we can only be along for the ride. Neferu smiles at me. Amicus will keep you safe. And if there's a need you have that he cannot fulfill, I am also here. I know Neferu intends for that to sound salacious, but I also think he means it in a nice way. I put my hand on his paw. Thanks. The jackal nods at me before turning away to walk up the hall, probably toward his own room. Once he's out of sight, I press my hand to the panel and walk into Amicus's room, sitting on the sofa to wait. It's strange. Amicus won, but it doesn't exactly feel that way after what Neferu just told me. Amicus didn't genuinely win. We won because of a rumor, basically making the entire trial thing pointless. Still, I can't exactly feel bad about that. Cassius bugged this very room to show footage of Amicus fucking Neferu. I close my eyes, rubbing them with a hand as I realize how much that might have damaged Amicus's reputation. Not only do the people realize this trial was decided from the beginning by corrupt triumvirates, but also that their soon-to-be emperor had sex with a male, a Chimian male at that. But again, Cassius losing because of his intention to get rid of one of the few checks on his power seems like karma to me. Weren't they keeping the emperor's power in check by making the decision that they did? Technically, Amicus will become emperor now, though I guess it won't be official until Cassius actually concedes the third trial. I turned these thoughts over and over in my head for the next 20 minutes. I've been annoyed by the fact that even though I got exactly what I wanted, several issues have come with it. Suddenly the door slides open, and I forget my worry for just a moment as I see Amicus standing there. He only gets a few steps into the room before I'm already there, wrapping my arms around his body as I hug him. Whoa, hey, Killian, everything alright? The wolf sets a heavy paw on my head, rubbing the pads gently against my scalp. Are you? Of course! Amicus smiles down at me warmly, but having known him for this long, I know that's mostly not exactly true. Well, we won. We did. He's quiet for a bit, continuing to rub my head. This isn't really how I imagined it would go. Amicus laughs softly. Neither did I, but we did win, and that's the important part. Amicus hugs me tightly again. Is what Cassius did what he showed? How bad was that? Amicus grimaces. Bad. But I'll find a way to get through that. Since my first job as emperor will be rebuilding my image. When do you become emperor? As soon as Cassius gives up. I don't think he's in the mood to do that quite yet, though. We stand there for a while, Amicus continuing to stroke my head as I lean it against his chest, listening to the soft beat of his heart. I'm just glad it's over. I feel the same. So, what next? Well, for now, I must go to the city. The triumvirates requested the imperial family be seen at once. Oh? Why? Well, everyone assumes the trial's to be over. They'd like to discuss things with the family before they leave Adastra for their own cities. I see. They also requested that you go. I leaned back to look up at the wolf. Really? Yes, though I told them not to expect it. I know you wanted to see the city, but it's up to you. Well, it won't be the actual city, just the district where the delegates live. Things are a bit chaotic in the city center at the moment. Chaotic? The citizens are excited after the trial. Ah. I imagine excited means angry. I could, but doing official stuff seems kind of scary. You wouldn't have to do anything, just look happy to be there, but it's up to you. Would it help you? Possibly, I'd certainly be happy to have you there. And sure. The wolf's eyebrows go up in surprise. Oh really? Well alright then, let's go. Now? Yes, I believe the others are already in the chariot. Are you ready? I think so, unless I need to bring anything. Not at all, and sorry, I know things are moving fast at the moment. It's to be expected after the trial. We can talk in private when we get back, alright? Okay. Amicus is already turning me to pull me along, but I stop him. When he turns, I do what I'd wanted to do since the right before the trial started, and I kiss him on the lips. Oh, damn, son. Get that, honey boy. Cats, what are you doing? The chariot is really just a large metallic carriage. It has benches inside with an open top. There are no horses, of course, but it seems to move on its own. It's the first time that I've ever seen wheels being used for transportation here, though. As we're walking up to it, I notice Virginia and Nephru are already sitting in the front, and Cassius is in the back with Alex. Yeah. He's very deliberately looking away from us. I whisper to Amicus as we get closer to the chariot. Cassius is going? Yes, I think Cato made him go. Despite everything the White Wolf has done, especially in the trial, I can't help but feel a little sorry for him. I can't imagine having to go out in public right after your years-long campaign was defeated. Amicus hops in first, sitting next to Virginia before reaching down to me to pull me up next to him. I thought we'd be flying there. We usually do, but since the ship we used to take to the city crashed a few months ago, we decided the chariot is safer and more inconspicuous. Yes, something that will come in handy considering the state of the city right now. Yes. What's the state of the city? Virginia fixes her eyes on me, really looking at me for the first time in a while. Riots, looting, the usual, though a bit unusual for Adastra City compared to, say, Lux. Amicus glances at me. That's when there's a sudden jerk as the chariot moves forward toward the tree line. Virginia looks at Amicus. I must say, your pet is much more fascinating than I originally thought. He could barely speak when I first met him. Yes, he was shy. I guess I should have told Amicus that my act had been exposed at this point. Well, we must reconnect with this Simia, then. They seem oddly intelligent. Yes. Oh, thank the gods for the trees. Vita is much too harsh today. Amicus clearly tries to change the subject as the road turns into the thick forest. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's pretty interesting. I like the way those trees look. We're blanketed in an eerie green glow as the forest envelops us. Strange, glowing insects fly around our carriage, and I notice how ancient the trees look, gnarled and rough, almost completely blocking out the sky. Hopefully they'll allow us to freshen up a bit before the ceremony. I'll be a mess by the time we reach the city. Virginia whips out her large embroidered fan again, waving it frantically in her face. I kind of wish I had one too. My skin almost immediately sticky in the humid air. You will look fine. Besides, we'll all be in the same state. Amicus glances over at the jackal. What are you cats doing? I have to wonder what brought you along, Neferu. My presence was requested. By whom? Oh, for the sake of Vita, don't start, Amicus. What? I'm simply curious. No, you're trying to start a fight, which is the last thing we need in front of the triumvirates. Besides, isn't your policy to befriend Chimians? An alliance isn't a friendship. Chimians see it as a friendship. Besides, everyone probably thinks you're already very close after what was broadcast. Virginia? She hides her smirk behind the fan as Neferu grins at beside her. I'm simply reminding you that it might still be fresh in everyone's mind when we get there. Amicus slumps in his seat, legs stretched out in front of him. All the more reason to seem distant. That will probably affect my reputation for years. Oh, don't be so dramatic. The people love such scandals. They simply pretend to be outraged. Amicus snorts, but doesn't say anything more, signaling that the conversation is over. I wonder if Cassius sitting right behind us is listening in. Probably. I find the whole thing strange. The wolf that tried to sabotage Amicus by leaking what was basically a porno sitting right behind us. I turn my head ever so slightly, trying to look back at Cassius to see if he's looking at us. I don't see anything, so I turn around more fully and find that White Wolf is laying down, eyes closed with his head in Alex's lap. I don't know what these cats have gotten into. Noisy little critters. Alex looks up at me and smiles with a wave. I wave back awkwardly before quickly turning around. Virginia and Neferu seem to be caught up in their own conversation at the moment, while Amicus continues to sulk, staring at his feet. So, what exactly is going to happen when we get there? Oh, well, the meeting with the triumvirates, as I said earlier. After that, we'll likely get to walk the streets of the district to visit the shops and a restaurant. Oh, so I'll just stand next to you? Yes. All right. For the rest of the ride, I lean against Amicus' side, and after several minutes, I start to nod off. Amicus notices and wraps an arm around me, and I'm able to comfortably lean against his chest to fall asleep. Drink time! Okay, there we go. The next thing I know, I'm being nudged awake by Amicus. I find myself staring at several buildings, the sudden change in scenery leaving me dazed. I'm still trying to get my bearings as Amicus hops out of the carriage, reaching up to lift me down. When I look back up, I'm able to see a large group of wolves off to the side, watching us intently. Immediately, I feel self-conscious, the crowd being the largest gathering of wolves that I'd seen in person. They come in all shapes and sizes, and I'm surprised to see a few of them that are almost as short as I am. The one characteristic that all of them share, though, is their thick-bodied stature. Amicus guides me around to stand in front of the chariot with Neferu, Virginia, Cassius, and Alex, holding me close to his side. One of the old wolves steps forward from the group. Welcome, Imperial family. Thank you so much for coming on this day of the second trial. It is a marvelous show. It seemed like a bold thing to say after a clip of Neferu and Amicus having sex was shown. There doesn't seem to be any awkwardness, though. The old wolf's looking eager to talk to Amicus. I am Cicero, first triumvirate of Adrota. Adrote? Probably Adrote. The old wolf walks forward toward Amicus, setting his paws on the bigger wolf's shoulders and touching the sides of their muzzles together. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice Cassius shooting us a sour, angry look. The wolf and Amicus hold a short conversation, the older wolf asking Amicus what he thought of Adrote, what problems the city was currently having, and how they might proceed in the future. After that, he then moves on to Virginia, where the conversation is much shorter. Another wolf from the group moves forward to talk to Amicus, the conversation following a roughly similar pattern. There's no talk about Amicus being emperor, but the assumption is there, and when each of them gets to Cassius, it's almost as equally brief as it was with Virginia. Despite the novelty of the situation, I quickly become bored, and the conversations blend together very quickly as over a dozen of these old wolves come forward to introduce themselves to Amicus. For his part, Amicus does a really good job of seeming enthusiastic for each introduction, mentioning that he already knows who they are and that he thinks very, very highly of their city and region. Occasionally, they'll glance at me and comment on how strange I look, though it's usually with a positive tone, congratulating Amicus on stagging me. That does seem to make Amicus uncomfortable, but I keep a straight face and bow each time, seeming to delight the old wolves of my etiquette. Eventually, these introductions end, but as we start to move toward the shops, the triumvirates continue to follow us, and I find myself having a harder time keeping up with Amicus. He's practically surrounded by the triumvirates. I give up on trying to stay next to him, and even though he keeps glancing at me and calls to me a few times, I just wave him on, choosing instead to walk alongside Neferu and Virginia. Sure, it's annoying, and he's about to become emperor, so it makes sense that he's so popular. As we walk through the streets, wolves call out to Amicus from the doorways and windows, and he tries to wave at all of them. Further up the road, a group of children, puppies, show up with flowers in their paws, handing them out to Amicus and the triumvirates. As I watch this happening, I notice a particularly patchy-looking child, no taller than my waist, standing off to the side awkwardly, looking right at me as she holds a flower in her paws. I pause, unsure if she means to give it to me. When I do, she moves closer. So I bend over, reaching out, and her eyes widen, probably simultaneously horrified and fascinated at getting the crazy alien's attention. Nevertheless, she comes closer and shyly pushes the crumpled, wilted flower into my hands before suddenly leaning in and touching the side of her face to mine. For a moment, I see her watery, bloodshot eyes, and I feel the slightly damp fur brush my skin a bit before she makes an odd yelping sound and runs off down the street. I stare at her, wonder if I've done something wrong. Found yourself a gift? I look down at the white flower, noticing that several petals are missing. I guess. That one didn't look healthy, did she? Not really. Maybe Cassius had a point with his speech. I think they both made good points, honestly. Neferu gestures at the gaggle of wolves moving further and further away from us. Better catch up before they leave us behind. Yeah. Look down at the flower again, a bit uneasy now, before dropping it to the road, feeling a little guilty as I do. Even though the ceremony is technically over, the triumvirates don't seem to want to leave Amicus alone. I'm kind of amazed at how Amicus is dealing with them, considering how irritated I'm feeling. Amicus tries to bring me over to his side a few times, pointing out trinkets and souvenirs that he tries to explain, as if wanting to show me a bit of Adastran culture. It's nice, and I can tell he wants to involve me, but it's far too busy with triumvirates and the locals breaking in every 5 seconds to ask or tell Amicus something. Good lord, what caused me to get so stuffy all of a sudden? Oh lord. I wish he could just tell them to go away, but I know it doesn't work like that. On top of this, my joints are really starting to ache from all the walking, and I wonder if living in the palace for so long has made me soft. Eventually, I just trail the group of wolves, browsing the goods after they do. It's interesting, sure, but everything is so similar to what we have on Earth. Necklaces, earrings, brushes, clothes, nothing all that mind-blowing. Eventually, Amicus very loudly calls out that he'd like to go to a restaurant with his pet, if everyone could please allow him through. I take this as my cue to move to his side, and he immediately puts an arm around mine, holding me close. As we walk up the street, the many wolves still following behind us, Amicus puts his muzzle close to my ear, sending a bit of a chill over my neck, one that's oddly painful. Everything okay, Killian? You seem a bit uncomfortable. I shrug. Everything around here is new to me, so I guess I do feel a bit off. Well, let's settle down in a restaurant. We can cool off and catch your breath there. The wolf gives me a quick squeeze with his arm, and despite my slightly sour mood, I can't help but smile a bit. I mean, it is kind of cool that my friend is so popular, even if it's because he's going to be the next emperor. We walk into a small but cozy restaurant, and I can tell right away that it's rather upscale with its carved pillars, and the fancy tapestries on the wall. Then again, everything in this district is kind of upscale, I guess. The triumvirates follow us right into the restaurant, though, and I let out a frustrated sigh. Amicus notices right away and signals at a wolf standing behind a podium. This particular wolf is staring at us wide-eyed, apparently gobsmacked at seeing the soon-to-be emperor showing up in his restaurant. He practically trips over himself to get to us, banging his hip on the side of the table as he does. Yes, your Majesty. Amicus grimaces. Just Amicus, please. Could you get us a secluded table, preferably with no one seated next to us? Of course! The wolf stumbles over himself again before leading us to a corner of the restaurant, gesturing at a table there. He then turns to a couple next to the table and begins to frantically hiss at them to move. They stare at him in astonishment until Amicus steps in to stop him. They're fine, just don't let any of that group over there sit next to us, if that's alright. Amicus jerks his head over at the gaggle of old wolves, all of them staring at us rather hawkishly. Oh, yes, of course! He hurries off towards said group, and we're finally able to sit down, or lay down. The seats are, of course, in the Roman style. Amicus settles down with a huge sigh, stretching his big body over the bed. Oh, what wonderful... Oh, that's wonderful. Awesome art. Sorry about that. I should have warned you about how frustrating it can be with all the pointless chatter. I shrug. Seems about right for politics. Oh, it is, but don't worry. It's rare that all the triumvirates are in the city all at once. This is for the trials, of course. Yeah, makes sense. You sure you're okay? I can never seem to tell. I'm fine. I rub my arms. The skin's sensitive and sore, just like my joints. I wonder if I'm getting sunburned, too. Alright, so what do you think of the city? This part of it, at least. I wish I could take you to where the skyscrapers are, but as I said, things are a bit chaotic at the moment. It's pretty cool. It wouldn't exactly be out of place on Earth. Definitely different, but really similar. Ah, well, you were uplifted by us after all. Yeah, so is this what you're going to do as Emperor? Come to the city and just talk? Amicus chuckles. Oh, there'll be much more to it, I'm sure. I'm hoping Cato will teach me a bit, if he's able to get over the trial. I remember that Cato did vote for Cassius. He's probably furious about it right now. Won't you have, like, advisors and stuff? Well, yes, but I must choose them. Would you choose Cato? I could. Will you? Well, maybe, but recent events have left me a bit unsure of that. Why's that? Amicus shakes his head. Don't worry about it now. We should be celebrating. I mean, you could become emperor at any moment. Shouldn't you have someone who's got a good head on their shoulders at the ready? Heh, I suppose. Who would you suggest? I get the feeling that he's goading me to offer myself, but that definitely wouldn't be the case. The few wolves I know make the decisions pretty easy. Virginia. Amicus raises his eyebrows in slight surprise. Oh, well, yes, I would definitely consider her. The only problem is that the image of a female is telling me what to do. The tail-raiser reputation is bad enough. I roll my eyes. Maybe woven masculinity is something you can fix while you're emperor? Amicus doesn't seem to know how to answer that, but he doesn't have to as our food arrives. I'm a bit surprised since we didn't order, but looking around, it seems that everyone gets the same thing. Ooh, what the tentacles! As usual, olives, grapes, cheese, and bread, but also seafood and even eggs, which surprises me. Amicus thanks the nervous waiter before immediately starting to dig in. I do the same, but while I'm spreading cheese onto the bread, my mind wanders back to what might be happening in the city right now. So, how bad are things in the city? No one seemed that concerned about it. What I've been told is fairly mild. Riots are common in Adastra, but they don't last long. I think the people will calm down within the next few days. Oh, okay, so they don't, dislike you or anything? It takes Amicus a moment to swallow down his mouthful of bread before speaking. No, most of the anger is directed at triumvirates. I will say, though, I have my work cut out for me rebuilding my reputation. Because of the sex video? Yes. Who's that person right there? I noticed they turned their head. Amicus tries to smile it off lightheartedly, but I can see his ears turning red. It must be weird being out in public like this, knowing that everyone saw it. I was told by one of the triumvirates from Lux to simply say it was fake. Not sure if that'll work. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell if it's super thanks, or a tip if you can, it always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!